この番組はご覧のスポンサーの提供でお送りします。Alrighty, welcome everyone. I'm Teeaboo, and I am here for Sora no Woto, episode 7. Last week we had episode 6, of course, and episode 6 consisted of two uniquely interlocking stories. One about the girls of the Bastion, minus Kanata because she's not in the know yet, attempting to protect their turf and prevent others from stepping on their territory, namely the big bad mafia, by setting up a bit of a play, a bit of a stage act for them, a little show of force, if you will. And it was glorious, not least because of the awesome outfits and the fact that we get to delve into a little bit of a fun, different style for the episode, and I think that was really cool. The other half of the episode, of course, was centered around a particular little girl who lives with Yumina at the church and was desperately seeking a particular box, a unique ornamental puzzle box that it turned out contained a pair of hair ties that her mother had told her to find someone who cared about her the most and give those hair ties to them. So eventually it all links up together via timeline stuff, and we find out that Kanata is the one who inadvertently created the plan that they ended up following to push away the mafia people, and Kanata and is it Michio? Fuck, I've forgotten that child's name. Were the ones that caused the rocks to fall and terrify them even more, and it all sort of links up, and eventually she gets her box back, and we have a nice little Aesop, a nice little lesson at the end, and it was all over pretty good. What the hell comes next? I have no idea. We're hitting the midpoint of the season, minus the 0.5 episodes, because those shake things up and make things a little bit weirder in terms of like which episodes are technically the middle point. But if this were 13, 14 episodes, then this would be the middle point episode. I don't know if that changes anything. I don't know if that means that we'll start like maneuvering toward finale stuff and getting some information on things, which could be really great. We've kind of let a lot of our back burner stuff just sit on the back burner for a while. Who the blonde girl? What the bell? Anything, anything. Phone. All the things that have been set up have been just sort of chilling, which is fine. That's what the Bastion exists as, right? They haven't been contacted or needed for anything for quite a while, so I don't know. There was one thing, and I only remember it because I made jokes about it. I think there's a fire festival, the festival of fire or something like that. But Firefest, jokes, cheese sandwiches, yes. We'll see how that goes. I'm sure it will be better as a festival than Firefest, but I don't know what it'll consist of. Maybe it will be an in for us to experience more of the mythology and like lore behind this world through another festival. It was how we were introduced to the world of the show, so it could be another way of expanding that world out for us. Either way, I'm kind of excited to see what comes next after that pretty excellent episode last time, so let's dive on into episode 7 of Sora no Woto and see what's in store for us. Alright, I've got episode 7 up and ready to go, sitting at 0 seconds, not Elysium subs, 2 versions of the reaction, picture-in-picture version available in the description, timer-based version on YouTube, beep timer, let's go. Holy fuck. Hey, fun cut. Loader. And this is an older tank. This isn't a Takemizuchi. They're all going to die, aren't they? We saw it for a frame. Fuck. Okay, that's what they look like. Nah. Bugle. Felicia. More names, more names, more names. It's explosions, yo. Wow, she has changed so much. I suppose war would do that, eh? Was she thrown from it because she was above and the others die because they're inside? Yep. Oh my god. You can see the figures in the flames. Yeah. Nope. And snap to present. Okay. Hi, Felicia. Where are you? How you doing? How's that trauma going? Was her arm broken, by the way? I'm uncertain. Who's directing? Is her trauma related to this somehow? Festival of Fire, the city on fire. She might fear it, having seen all of her friends, all of her compatriots explode in flaming death could do it. What is that shadow? Excuse me? Is that a fucking ghost? Excuse me? Chirping crickets, floating lights on the river. I thought it was chirping crickets and then fire festival or something. Or maybe that was a line that I overheard. Oh, gosh. Goobers. Hi. What's that? Trumpet, trumpet, trumpet. Ah, it's like Obon. Why is Noel all sad down face? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, what's up, Noel? She comes from a more traditional place, right? Oh, I guess it is just Obon. It's the same thing. The Festival of Lights. Oh, the veil grows thinner. Oh, okay. It's the solstice. Lanterns are released. Candles to float down the river. What in particular is she buying and trying to keep it hidden? They're both hiding it from each other? Oh. A little bit. Hmm. And speaking of those who have passed on, those watermelons? Oh. Uh-huh. While we were at it. Oh, hello, church. Oh, hello, kiddos. Oh. Oh, that took me a minute. They're paper lanterns. Oh, okay. Fiesta de Lumieres. Hmm. Hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. On. Sorry. Yeah, kind of in your own head there, are we? Always at the same time of year? In harmony. But she does think about it. Oh, darling. Oh, shit. And it's just gonna flood. Yeah, wow. Oh. She did hurt her arm badly. Oh my. What will change? What will change? Where will she find a refuge? There is no refuge. What will change? Okay. The chimes. Wow, she full passed out. She hasn't been eating. They bandaged her up, yeah. Okay. This is great. Finally, reliable, quiet Felicia is our focus. Finally. The one character who doesn't get a chance to get away. Mm-hmm. Having nightmares, perhaps? And now she can get away. Let her have time. Yeah. Ah. She was there? She was there? Noelle was? She must have been so young, though. We don't know how much time has passed, really. A whole life. It's rather fatalistic. And the same question still resonates. So she fell down, fell through. What's down here? No way out. Trapped. The ghost. Fuck. We might be able to. From a past war? Yeah. Old soldier, young soldier. She's gone. Olga Martina. That's not an answerable question. Ghost? The soldier? Then what I fought for may not have been worthwhile, or... Wow. Those are Takame's... What was that? That's not necessarily true. No, no. She's found one she can answer now in the present. She doesn't have the answer now. Oh, there's more connection. Where is she? Where's the blonde girl? Where is she? Where is she? Where is she? That saved a wretch like me. Save yourself. She fucking heard. We're gonna meet her. We might meet her. We could meet her. My unit? She's a commander? Fuck you, show. Faith. She's questioning her lack of it. Oh, hi. Nice. Yeah, don't cross the streams. Nope, nope. Hey, Felicia can smile now. Same person. But now? No, but they're Felicia's reason. The small things, protecting the remnants. Oh, during the festival, come back. Yeah, what do you want to know? What do you want to say? And why do you seem okay now? Certainly. Aww. It's not like I'm worried about you or anything. Okay. Joke incoming. Uh-huh. Oh no! What a tragedy. You're a very good actress, Felicia. Yeah. What? No, your deepest core traumas? Definitely not something you were dealing with right now or anything. The lanterns. Wow. Two names, two parents. Four. Just calm. Ah. I want to see the ghost once more. Oh. You can always talk to me. Oh, Kanata. Kureha looks so shocked. Aww. I don't believe you, but that's okay. Aww. Kana-chan. This is the family and the reason. I want her to look up from this and see the old soldier's ghost looking at her. And just nod. Like, oh, I understand. That's why. Okay, no, just a random person. Okay. And Kureha, yours? Yeah, I thought so. I was wondering why she might be so desperate to believe that people go to heaven and don't come back. Even Rio. Sister. Even that person, eh? Interesting, isn't it? It's not answerable. You just have to make use of it as much as you can. Ooh, okay. Yes. There is great value to be found in absurdism. Yes. The lack of the lack of universality of truth produces the individuality of truth. The reason that I'm here. The children and the next generation. Okay. That was a hefty episode. That was a hefty episode. Okay. So it's not the same bugle. That's okay. Wow, that's like number 2 on the list of things that I kind of thought might occur because they're backburnered things in this episode. So I think that checks off like literally all of them. I said that because we were getting to the midpoint of the season, maybe we would get some focus and moving toward some kind of something that gives us more. Holy shit, did we ever do that? And the idea that like having a festival just like episode 1 could be a way of reopening us to the world. Holy shit, did we ever do that? And having it be the episode where finally we get the backstory from Felicia. A cross-section of it, a segment of it, obviously. It's not the whole picture, but it's a whole fucking lot. 1, connection to Blonde Girl. 2, we have a name and a title. Woo-hoo-hoo! Princess Ilya of Helvetia? Must be. Okay. So, if Rio's her sister, she would be a princess too, so she must be bastardized, right? She must be a half-sister. She refers to her as her sister in this episode, but she must be her half-sister. Or like, bloodless sister, if that makes sense. Unless, what if her mother, Rio's mother, was a consort? Like a consort to a king, but not the empress or the queen. One who would not be full-blooded. That could work. It doesn't really matter. We don't really need to know about that. I'm sort of just fumbling around for a point to start on this episode because there's a lot rattling around in my brain right now. And it's difficult to like I want to just go through and talk about the world building and the fascinating and horrifying sequences of death and warfare that are shown in this episode, which I think are excellently done. And the first segment of those is the reason that I paused initially to go and look up the episode director, because to sell the melancholy and the horror of war is not the easiest thing to do. And there aren't that many shows that really nail it to that degree, where they really nail someone experiencing trauma to an extraordinary degree. I think I think that in my own mind, I remember Dororo from, geez, it's been almost a year now, from a few seasons ago. I think Dororo managed in a couple of episodes to nail that use of widespread destruction to create very personal, intimate feelings of hopelessness and loss and fear. And I don't think that's necessarily the easiest thing to do. And I think it takes a pretty keen eye for how to shoot those scenes and things and how to put them all together. And maybe more importantly, a good ear for the music to use at certain circumstances within those sequences to make them really work. All of this is just to say that I think those sequences work well, and I don't know if I can separate. I think this is really good from like a direction standpoint and a craft standpoint from I think this is really interesting from a world building standpoint and a demonstration of what the past was like standpoint and a character building standpoint for Felicia, because what we see in this episode is an arc for a character that has already occurred, right? We know Felicia. We know who she is to an extent. She's a person who holds herself apart a bit, but cares deeply. However, we haven't known who she was before that. We get the sense from her that she's a person who's experienced some level of damage, but has overcome and reconciled with it to an extent that the other characters have not. She strikes us as mature, partly because of her physical features and her like height and general womanliness, if you will. But it's more than that. It's the confidence and the ability to manipulate other people and the self-assuredness. And so in this episode, we finally get to see her doubt. And more importantly, we see who that person came from. And we see a naive person, hopeful and optimistic, but childish, afraid of thunder and lightning, reliant upon her friends and her peers and the people to whom she looked up, the people who she looked up to, but fearful and naive and, again, optimistic. Multiple times over the course of the episode in those flashback sequences, people tell her fatalistic or determinist or negative or pessimistic things, and her response is always like, you don't have the power to decide that. You don't know that. The world might not be ending. You don't know that humanity can never return to what it was before. It just may take an inordinate amount of time. And I think that all ties into her eventual revelations at the end, or not so much revelations, because we don't see her go into a revelation. We see her spend time with the Takemiziku, however many syllables are in that fucking tank's name. We see her like communing with it and standing with it, and we can assume that she came to those realizations then. But what she ends up at, where she ends up at the end of the episode, believing that meaning is individual and that there's a beauty to that, is a really fascinating place to take that character's arc, right? A character who believes that individuals aren't able to determine the fate of the world, then determines that she's the one who creates her own perspective and finds meaning where she can find it. I think that's pretty fascinating, and I think pretty good. It's a little bit more layered, a little bit more complicated than the easy route, which is, it's the same answer, but it's more complicated. The easy route is the one that I came to and that I expressed multiple times as Felicia was still looking for that, right? It's pretty obvious to us over the course of the story that Felicia's reason for being at this point is to protect and serve the children, to serve the other members of the Bastion specifically, and hopefully to have whatever good she does to them carry forward into the good they do to others. But we haven't had like the justification for it, and it's not just the meaning is the children or the meaning is the future. It's the meaning is something each of us individually chooses. The meaning that I choose is protecting these people. Other people may choose something different. That's a distinction that I think is important. That's really fucking cool. Oh. Okay. We've got a few things that need to be done. I've got a few names. Anna, Martina, Olga were the three that I managed to pick up. Can we go back and look at her lantern quickly? I just want to check. I want to, because we said that we would, if we got names, we would go back and check, but I think that's an amazing thing. Yeah, lantern's already gone. Here we go. It's right there. Yukika? Martina, Olga, Anna. Anna Bloom. Olga Tolstaya. Okay, so Kelke... Wow, that's a weird... Is that still French? Is that still valid French, Kelke? Because it's close to valid Latin, but it's a weird form. I'll just translate. No, I don't know what that means. Okay. My former comrades in a single... I assume it says, like, some dude from elsewhere. I don't know. These 4 names. Are any of these 4 names on the place where we went in episode 5? Angeline Hotori or Hotori L something. But it was Ilya, not Elia, so it can't be that. All of the Bastion maidens have come here at least once. So was she not a maiden of the Bastion before now? Possible, as just a tank commander in the military. Okay, cool. Back to episode 7. I just wanted to jump over and check. See if there were more connections to make. There aren't. That's fine. Okay. Let's get into it for realsies. Tank. Old tank. Not old, not Takemizuchi, whatever, future tank, but I mean more normal tank. Much more normal. And Felicia has short hair, so immediately we know this is the past. Ready to advance forward. The framing throughout this whole sequence is claustrophobic, I would call it. Like, being down here with all of these obscuring things and angles in this corner, the shot before it of her, well, of Felicia, of course, is horror, but this is, like, off-framing. The mouth extending below the frame is really weird. It feels like we're forced into a corner, and this is the only way we can see up, right? Which is effective. They're all trapped in this steel contraption, right? And of them all, Felicia is the one that stands out the most. Hands in lap, not working at the moment. Where are our allies not coming? And then we do one difficult cut with the rotation shot here, which is pretty cool. It's striking at the very least. And the way that we sort of shake into it is pretty cool. Firing the main cannon, yada, yada, yada. Locked in for 3 days. And we see, of course, that it doesn't have targeting computers and stuff. They're using mechanical targeting and alignment, which is making all of that happen. And we see it for just a frame or 2. Yeah. A giant steel walker thing. Fighting across already destroyed landscapes. As though it really doesn't matter. Blowing up another just like theirs. I think it's intriguing to me that there's very little to distinguish soldiers on one side from the other, and I think that's quite intentional, yes? Like, the walkers that they're using, they look pretty much the same. I'm sure you can figure out some details that are different. They've got 2 guns on them and whatever, but color of the uniforms may be brown as opposed to green. It's really hard to tell in the light. I think that's intentional. They're all just people. And she is their bugler. So we discover the purpose for the bugles amongst the troops. Makes sense. Little whack that they might not have just, like, shortwave radio technology or whatever, but hey, sure, yeah, bugles, sure. So Felicia goes up to cover. Yes, ma'am. And we see more of their friendship and the care that her captain obviously took for her, where she learned how a leader might want to act. Part of it. And we learn that she's a scaredy cat. There may be flashes, but it isn't lightning. Yeah, it's a little bit fucking worse. It's a storm hail of bullets and death. Oh, jeez. Now, the one thing that very slightly irks me about this whole sequence and the later sequences is there's too much bullets, too much gunfire, just going in random directions. Okay. Felicia has been shot at by stormtroopers quite a bit over these sequences. Now, that's not horrifying. It's just a little bit unbelievable that in an absolute hail like that, one would not be hit. But fine. And bad juju. We've been snuck up upon. Explosion. She is flung from the tank, and her team is trapped inside for a time. So we're given the impression that her body is mangled and torn, but it's just the one arm that's significantly hurt. I mean, she's in quite a bit of pain. And then we get our first, like, truly, genuinely horrifying scene of the episode. And that is, of course, this. It is that people that she knows, people whose faces we now know, are reduced to scrambling silhouettes, trying desperately to get free of the steel contraption that has enclosed them. And then it explodes, and the hope is lost. So we are brought just to the tip of hope. Oh my God, maybe they could get away with nothing more than severe burns. They could be alive. Nope. No, they're all dead. They're all very dead. Welcome to the scattered remnants of your tank, and welcome to the now bloodied bugle attached to an unattached arm, crushed by rubble. Oh. The chances that that's the same bugle as Kanata's are like 0, right? They're like less than 0. She brought that bugle with her, correct? Okay, good. Because that's fucking awful. And then it all hits. And I think that the use of color or lack thereof to exemplify that, going to a stark monochromatic black-white, highly bright, over bright, and then seeing her literally dissociate for the camera is perfect. And then we open. So this is kind of where it sort of hits me that whoever's in charge of this episode knows what they're doing, because the transition that we take to here and then bringing in the crickets, the slow pans around empty cities, and back to the daily life, but not just the daily life. It's specifically her arm, the injured one, that we focus on. And then the incoming thing, which represents her fears, you know? Something that she must overcome. It's fascinating. I think it's really good. And then she sees the ghost. Ghost of a soldier. Shattered face mask, old technology. Okay, Kureha having fun on just stomping on this stuff is wonderful. I particularly like, the other shot. This shot. Because it's just goofy. Yeah, she's great. Okay, and then there's this, and I don't know what this is. That's a trumpet, yes? Rio plays the trumpet. Ilya played the trumpet. That's probably Ilya's trumpet, right? 2 + 2 = 7. We got it. I think we're in the clear on that front. Okay, we talk about the festival. It's Bon. Obon. Yep, does that. And then I don't particularly love this whole just why are we focusing on Kureha messily eating? I don't understand, but that's okay. Yeah, festivals. And Noelle seems real down because she says she knows of this firsthand. I'm a little confused by that. Noelle was not part of that tank crew, and Noelle is too young, right? Probably, right? So what's up with that? Was she there somehow? Doesn't really track. I don't know. Okay, weird. Whatever. Yeah, it's all these shots to the outside to follow characters while others are talking about stuff. They change things, you know? They make the episode feel very different. Yeah, and then the run in. Ghost returning. Kureha, of course, takes that as bad. And she's very insistent about this, and I was wondering why. Yep, her parents are dead. That's why. Makes sense. It's important to believe in faith in the same way that she believes that the Bastion is of value and useful, you know? Like, we're good. We're important. We matter. There's heaven. They're there. They won't come back. Okay. Fun times, watermelons, children making, oh god. Children making paper lanterns to put the names of their dead people on. Oh. It's like, oh, that seems like a fun craft. Oh. Oh, gotcha. Yeah, even the church recognizes it, at least because we're out in the middle of nowhere, so. Something. Then we go for a right Felicia, and she's completely in her own head. And that's when she cuts herself. The way the blood wells from the cut is really interesting because it's less a cut, it's a shave, right? I've got a few. Where are they? I've got a few scars from those myself. I don't know if it's visible. It's probably not. There's a little like a horseshoe shaped scar right here. I think I was slicing something this way with a steak knife, which is really stupid, and it slipped and gouged like, I don't know, 3/4 of an inch of flesh just straight to the bone all the way down on my finger. Now I've got a nice little scar from it. Got a couple more of those. Happens when you work on in tools. Yeah, I scraped all of this knuckle off at one point with a knife as well. I don't remember how that happened, but it did. Painful as fuck. And that kind of cut, they bleed forever. They don't stop bleeding. But what I think is so interesting is that the blood that comes out is too much. Yeah. It becomes a flow. And I actually fully expected that it was going to be like a deadly overflow sort of situation. I'm trying to think of where I've seen that in another anime. Maybe it's in Fate, I want to say. Kind of like if you imagine the thing that happens at the end of Fate Zero and lots of stuff is flowing out of somewhere and it's covering over everything, like that, but with blood. It's kind of like that. It's just too much, right? The blood just flows, but it's because it's bringing her to that moment. Now, the other thing that I really like here is they took like lighter pencil or lighter stuff and they started to go over all of the lines of her multiple times. All of her line art becomes shaky sketchy. I think it's actually quite unfortunate that they also blurred the whole sequence. Because the visual like digitally added blur over top of it detracts from the artistic stylings of that portion of things, because that you can see it as it occurs. It switches to a style that's more reminiscent of like the sketchiness that's in Devilman Crybaby sometimes, the sketchiness that's in Yu Hakusho even sometimes, that same kind of sketchiness that we would recognize as being like a Dazaki frame, but it's in motion. I think it's a little unfortunate they decided to add this digital blur over top, because that particular form of sketchiness is a very different kind of fading out of existence than this one. And I think that one works more for shock and like going crazy than blurring out, which works for passing out as more. Although she's doing both at the moment, so I guess it doesn't really matter. Okay, here we go, and we have our girl walking through piles of bodies, destroyed skyscrapers, blood and death and destruction, and there is no hope. That's what this scene and composition tells us, right? Effectively, we're shown an endless landscape. There is no forward, there is no backward, there is no grounding point, only the endless dilapidation, endless bullets, endless death, endless destruction. It's just a field of that. Just like the wastes that we see beyond the no man's land zone, but now active, worse by far. And the explosions rain down. And she just falls. Oh, it's the gun, the secondary gun of the large tank cutting a swath. I was wondering what had happened here. I will say that while I think a lot of this episode is really good, I don't think that the action-y parts have the best conveyance. Like this, when she's just dropping into a void, I don't know if that quite works. It tells us where she's going, but it also feels like it's ethereal. Like she could have been blasted to another dimension by that bullet, and I would believe it. So clarity is important, yo. Anyway, wakey wakey, dreams and things. But now she gets to go and reconcile with them more seriously, consciously, you know? And Rio tries to keep them away. Kanata immediately wants to help, but Rio holds her back. And then Noelle goes, I've read the record, so... And then she says, I know about it firsthand. Does she mean firsthand or because she's talked to somebody? Because that's secondhand. It's a secondary source. I mean, it would be a primary source, but, like, she's not the primary source. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Maybe maybe she experienced a different portion of war as a tank mechanic somewhere else on a different front. Because she didn't seem like she would be on that front, you know? Okay, that actually works. If the occurrence at 20 at Vaint was, say, I don't know, 7 years ago. I'm just throwing out a random number. It literally doesn't matter. If that was then it could have been like 4 years between then and the end of the war. And Noelle could have been old enough at that point to make sense, timeline-wise. Okay, sure, I'll take that. All right, we hold them back and we show this, standing by the talking. And then we montage through all of the goodness, all of the training, the protection from lightning, the head pats, the fun stories, playing, and the quiet moments of talking. Have you heard it said that the world is ending? The world is slowly marching to its end, and someday we humans will likely perish entirely. And here we see her optimism, of course. It's just a rumor. Yes, but what if it's true? So what are we fighting for? And that gives us our core question for the episode. Well, Felicia, of the present, what are you fighting for? That's good writing. That's good writing. It's good writing. I like it. Okay, welcome to your hell. I think it's kind of unclear whether she lights multiple matches here. Flick, flick, flick for each time that we look around, and she's only able to take in a portion of her environment each time. It's just unclear. It doesn't particularly matter. But then we see him almost mummified by all his time under here. Teeth rotten. Neglected. A corpse. And here we hit the text. At this point, I am going to type into Google Specula Sora no Woto 7. Specula Sora no Woto 7. And I'm just going to find the one image that is the specula for episode 7. Boom, found the image. I'm going to open it here. Good. I can look at it. Let me see. The words inscribed onto the wall read as follows: To Ryoko and Kazuma, sorry, but your daddy lost. I couldn't protect you guys. It really breaks my heart to not be able to meet with you to be with you in my final moments. If there is a God in this world, I pray you meet a peaceful end. Wow. He truly believed that the world would end because of their loss. If there is a God in this world, I pray you meet a peaceful end. Not, I pray for your health. I hope you live well beyond me. Your life will end because I have failed. You, my children, will not live on because I have failed. I hope at least his last hope is that his children may reach a peaceful end. That's the best that he can hope for. Whoa. Okay, apparently the squad that she was on before, their tank appears to be modeled after the Panzer IV, which makes a lot of sense, and the others appear to be modeled somewhat after the M3 Lee, which also makes sense. Okay. And the ghostly soldier uses a Japanese Type 89 standard issue to the JSDF. So present day, present time. Whoa. Okay. Onward. I think that the scenes where the ghost speaks to her are gloriously done. Now, of course, she's dealing with survivor's guilt. there's no answer to this. It's bad. There's no answer to it, right? There's no being that chooses who lives and who dies, not in a place so horrifying as war. And if there were a god, God would look away when we fight amongst ourselves, for it is horrifying. There is no reason to feel that guilt, but it is natural to do so, and to wish that she were not the only one. To wish that maybe she were in one of their places, because it is harder to live on. Regardless, the soldier stands, now in the familiar form that we saw before, and then teleports up to her. His face, eyes bulging, horrifying, but beautiful in its horror, as a work of death, because we lost. Why are you apologizing? Because we lost. Because he believed entirely that their world would end soon. That the inevitability would come because of his failure. And we get to see it. So, for the first time ever, we see the time before. We're going to go through it all. We're going to look for anything. First off, the CG of the spider tanks is really fucking good. Totally shocked me that, one, they're in CG, and two, it looks as good as it does. Because I think it looks pretty fucking good. Thank you, artifacting. I do not need you right now. Please do not artifact. Thank you. It looks super dope. Super dope. It's not the highest quality of CG, but it's smooth as fuck and it looks good. The ability to scale buildings and stuff and just like climb around. Fucking awesome. They really do move like spiders. So, wait, let me see. Because the Takumi that we have has, oh yeah, missile launchers on the sides and then the big cannon, which is probably like, we saw it glow at one point, so it's probably like a railgun or like something. Something electromagnetic. Do we see that here? No, not. Oh, yeah, we see sparks when it fires. The second one, not that one, because that one's too obscured by the smoke cloud. Yeah, it becomes a bolt of lightning almost. That's actually kind of interesting. I wonder if that will come into play, given Felicia's fear of lightning stated. Yeah, they leave behind these coils. Not really coils, but like electromagnetic stuff. And they are all firing upon this single spire in the distance. Okay. What the fuck is that? Are those feathers? And this is what we're firing upon, right? And then the beam. And it streaks out from that spire, from that tower. And obliterates the landscape, flattening. Creating a nuclear-esque swath of destruction. Excuse me while I go to episode 1 really quickly. Maybe not that quickly, actually. It might take a little while. I just saw something that I don't remember. It was a gift from your father, wasn't it? Oh. Huh. Okay. The demon breathed fire, shook the earth, and wrought pain amongst the people. Finally, it kidnapped the maidens living in the bastion. Golden horns granted unto them by angels to call out to one another. And vanquish the demon, severing its head. But then it spewed forth flames violently. It's unknowable, isn't it? How much of it is literal? How much is like oral tradition passed down? And how much is just myth, you know? But I think we fairly clearly see a giant winged creature within a building with glass windows. That is a giant wing. And it appears that the beam that destroys all comes from it. An intentional weapon or a spewing of fire once it was beheaded? And more importantly, them. What are they? Something incredibly powerful that the full weight of advanced human technology could not hope to defeat. They failed. Extraterrestrial? Some kind of genuine demon awakening? Maybe. Or maybe Jurassic Park, you know? Maybe some fuckboy scientist decided to make cool winged giant angry birds. Great. Good job, buddy. You killed us all. Regardless, it's interesting, and it's the only thing we ever find. Like, this is all we have of this time period. All we get to see, and we get to see some of it firsthand. That's amazing. You guys are just the remnants, the last remaining bubbles in a ladle of water. Ooh, that... So that line kind of shakes me a little bit, because Angel's Egg. Angel's Egg is somewhat symbolically obsessed with bubbles in ways that are literally unspoilable. Like, you can't... I don't think you could ever spoil Angel's Egg. It's not a spoilable thing, so don't sweat it. Do go watch it. But, the last remaining bubbles in a ladle of water, the remnants in an apocalyptic world. It's hard not to draw some parallels, especially when we've got also gigantic bird fossils, which kind of fit. Actually, I kind of wonder if that's an intentional Angel's Egg reference a little bit now that I think about it. Wait. Huh. Where's the burb? Down below? The down below burb? Yeah, the burb down below. Uh-huh, it's a big decapitated burb. Okay, Angel's Egg? I've still got it, I think. I didn't delete it. Yeah, I still have it. Okay, where's the burb? So, here. It's pretty kind of similar. I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of weird. It's a little weird. However, the real thing that is what I'm picking up on more than anything is the water stuff and the bubble stuff. Like this, how she gazes through the water, gazing at it. And then later, there are a couple other scenes of the same kind of thing. Yeah, so she fills it, looks up through it, and we see these bubbles rising. That's what it reminds me of. Huh. The last bubbles in a ladle of water. The inevitability of that statement. Bubbles always rise to the surface, right? And then pop, and then disappear. And all is left empty and still. Just water. Ooh, that makes me feel kind of melancholy, fam. This episode is pretty emotionally heavy. Okay, let's go through the last scenes. So, there are still people surviving, yes. And again, the optimism remains. You can't just decide something like that by yourself. Living must be exceedingly lonely. So, you need a reason. You need one. You need something. And it's then that she hears Amazing Grace. So Ilya has saved two of them, and neither of them know about the other, Kanata and Alicia. And to an extent, perhaps Rio. But she calls out, and her voice resounds, and help comes. And she recognizes her by the thing around her neck. And Ilya is apologetic. She was the reinforcements, the true striking force of their army. And she arrived too late. And so Felicia is the only survivor of the battle, it seems. Wow. Wow. And there's an earnest sadness in her eyes. And Felicia is smiling once more because she's remembered and focused on it and reevaluated and decided that what she's doing is still right, that there is no need to question it. In the past, that person was everything to me, unspoken, but we know that she means Ilya, and her desire to protect comes from that. And so we can assume that so does Felicia's. It just expresses itself in a more familial, almost way. She brushes off Rio's concerns, which is very cute, I think. It's very fun. I'm getting fat. Oh, you silly goober. It's very fun. Are you saying you weren't recalling that? No response. Oh. And Kanata returning the favor, mirroring her care. Wanting to worry about her too. It's very cute. Love you too, Kana-chan. Stay the way you are now, please. Innocent. Childish, naive, optimistic. All of the things that Felicia can't be anymore. She broke on that day. She saw death and horror. She saw the people that she cared about most, or the only people she cared about perhaps in the world, die horribly, burning alive and then exploding in the midst of hope. She saw death and blood and destruction and came millimeters away from it herself. She is broken. She cannot be that optimistic person anymore. But she can support the children, the ones who can still see the good in the world, can still see joy. Stay the way you are now, please. Fearless about putting your feelings into words, about conveying. They all gather. All of the family that she's chosen to protect. And in that moment, even Rio prays. To the shock of all who knew her. What sort of meaning is there? And the answer that she comes to is a rejection of it. This is very good. It's a really concise explanation of a particular worldview. This episode as a whole, more than anything, reminds me of Girls' Last Tour. The horrors of past warfare, the great technologies that are now fallen and unlasting, the strangeness of the past, even so close, and then the greater strangeness of the deeper past. The wonders about this world and whether it's all over, the melancholy and sense of inevitability, all of it reminds me of Girls' Last Tour. And more than anything, my favorite thing in the episode is this. And my favorite thing in Girls' Last Tour is the episode about Zetsubo, about despair. Give in to the feeling of despair, says Girls' Last Tour. Become friends with the feeling of despair, the feeling of hopelessness. I think that's the exact line that's used, is become friends with the feeling of hopelessness. Because if you embrace it, then you're free. And if you embrace the idea that there's no grand universality of truth, that there is no great determiner of meaning, no God perhaps, or if there is, that a God wouldn't be quite so meddling as to do something like that. No, we choose our own meaning. We are our own worlds within ourselves. We are our own filters. What we care for, it's all constructs. Some of them are innate and difficult to deal with. The power of blood ties, for example, the desire to altruistically or compassionately help people who are in need. These are things that can produce meaning, can produce perspective, and are innate. But a lot of them are things that we create for ourselves. You can convince yourself to believe that part of the meaning of your life is to work out every day, and it will become so. So why can't you convince yourself that protecting a group of children is the meaning that is for you? Well, you can. And so she has. And so she doesn't need to justify it to anyone else. As long as she can justify it to herself, as long as she still agrees with herself, as long as she can hold on to that vision of, I suppose, of Princess Ilya, perhaps, that desire to save and protect the remnants that she sees, to hold on to the hope that she expressed before that one person can't decide that the world is over, not when other people are fighting to survive. And she seems to be right. Unless some other threat emerges, she seems to be correct. The world may not be thriving, but they are surviving. They have ways, and they're regaining steps toward technology as well. Okay. Felicia's been the character that we spent the most time not talking about. We've spent a full 6 episodes not giving us any information on Felicia whatsoever, except for her bit of puppeteering and her way of interacting with the other characters. We got vibes from her, but never information. And now the floodgates are opened. The leader of our pack has finally gotten her own episode. I think it's also interesting that for each of the other individual episodes, we split off a character and split them off with Kanata. Ryo and Kanata have an episode where they get to know each other. Kureha and Kanata have an episode where they get to know each other. Noelle and Kanata have an episode where they go off on a mission and get to know each other. And then all the girls go off on a mission on their own with Ryo and Felicia tagging along. And then Kanata is excluded and we do some fun stuff. And Kanata does something on her own. And then there's this episode. This episode might as well be titled Felicia Alone, because she has to be alone. She's the only one of them who can't find time alone. She has to be strong for them. She can't go somewhere and weep. But she finds a way to now. To be with the Takemizuchi and to understand herself a little bit better. And to allow us to understand her, which is more important in the context of the show. I am a fan of this episode. This is a good one, a heavy one, an interesting one. It's very different from what has come before, and I think it's very good. Okay, I think that's a wrap. I don't want to belabor the point. I think this is a pretty concise and clear episode, and I think I've covered what I want to cover in it. I'm sure I've missed some things, but that's okay. So, I've been Teeaboo. This has been Sora no Woto, episode 7. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have, and I hope to catch you next week for episode 7.5, I assume. Unless we feel like that's not enough, and maybe we'll watch episode 8 too. No promises. I'll see you there. Peace.